The Mazda 3 is a gem. It's affordable, it's classy, it's tiny, nimble, and fun, even though it's not a performance car. In America, smaller vehicles have fallen out of fashion amid the rise of trucks and SUVs. But cars like the Mazda 3 are proof that even though the average American vehicle keeps getting bigger, bigger isn't always better.
This is the 2025 Mazda 3 Carbon Edition, not carbon fiber, sedan, and I'm Alanis King. This is a small car that enthusiasts love, even if it's not really a performance car. So let's go for a drive and stick around for the end of this video to get this Mazda 3's full report card. The Mazda 3 as a nameplate actually isn't very old. It arrived for 2004 as a replacement for the Mazda Protégé, and at the time, Motor Trend called it a right-sized rocket you'll want to drive. The Mazda 3 has always been beloved, even in its normal forms, but it also had a very famous performance variant, the Mazdaspeed 3, which arrived for 2007 with 263 horsepower. The Mazdaspeed 3 had a base price of $22,800 American dollars in mid-2006, which is about $36,000 today. That puts it on par with the modern 276 horsepower Hyundai Elantra N, which is absolutely lovely. But when you think of the Mazdaspeed 3, you often don't think of the very first one. You think of 2010, when it looked like this. The Mazdaspeed 3 was beloved by a lot of people, and it was also very famous for torque steer. Torque steer is the tendency for front-wheel drive cars to pull to the side when they have a lot of power and you floor it, and it did that a lot. Some people might call that a flaw, but I call it character. The Mazda 3 has been through 4 total generations, and the 4th and current generation debuted at the 2018 Los Angeles Auto Show. It was styled beautifully, it had a hatchback form, it had a 6-speed manual transmission as an option, and we all loved it. But we also knew that there was really no chance of a new Mazdaspeed 3, and that's because in the mid-2010s, Mazda boss Masahiro Moro said Mazdaspeeds, especially the Mazdaspeed 3, were childish, and Mazda is not childish anymore. Mazda is refined and mature and adult and has nice paint colors and wants to be taken seriously. But I personally hate being taken seriously. If you watch our videos regularly, you might notice that the scenery is a little bit different today. We are in the beautiful but surprisingly hot state of Wisconsin for the Expel Grand Prix Road America IndyCar race. Expel brought us out because they are a wonderful partner of our channel, and they wanted us to see what their race is all about.
The Expel Grand Prix was amazing. Road America is a stunning, put this on your bucket list kind of racetrack, and Expel didn't just do a title sponsorship and leave it at that. They had constant merch and product giveaways, did a ton of demonstrations with their paint protection film, and brought Expel-sponsored Team Penske IndyCar driver Scott McLaughlin out to go-kart with me and a bunch of other Expel guests. Road America was full of Expel shirts, foam hats, and flags, and it's really cool to see a sponsor be so present and invested in their sponsorship, just like Expel is on our channel.
Expel is so lovely to work with. They have been a huge supporter of us, our cars, and our channel since we started doing YouTube. And they're a huge supporter of American motorsports. If you want to show some support in return, I have a discount code for Expel car care and detailing products. It's Alanis20 for 20% off. A ton of stuff on www.expel.com/shop, including my favorite ever cleaning tool, which is the foam cannon. It comes in the ultimate wash kit from Expel, and I highly recommend it. Thank you all for watching the channel, and thank you Expel for supporting us. This 2025 Mazda 3 Carbon Edition sedan has a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine that makes 191 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. That power goes through a 6-speed automatic to all four wheels because this is all-wheel drive compared to some of the base front-wheel drive Mazda 3 models. The engine is from Japan, the transmission is from Japan, and the final assembly point is also in Japan. And if this is not enough power for you, you can also do a turbo Mazda 3 that makes 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. And if you are a torque steer person, you can also option that in front-wheel drive. The 2025 Mazda 3 starts at $24,150 American dollars, and that trim also has 191 horsepower, just like this one. This is the most expensive 191 horsepower trim, and it starts at $29,610 American dollars. This particular Mazda 3 has only one option, and that is a $500 navigation SD card, which I would not get because I have navigation on my phone. And after options and fees, the total price of this car right here is $31,095 American dollars. Before we drive the 2025 Mazda 3 Carbon Edition, it's time for something much more important, which is how many Atlantises can fit in this Mazda 3's trunk. Now, as I get in the trunk, I like to talk to y'all about a few things. The first is key quality. I like Mazda keys. They all look the same. They're kind of hard plastic, but they look nice and they have buttons on them, which cannot be said for every modern car key. I also like to see if I can lock a key in the trunk, so we'll check that out. And I want to point out that this trunk has an Atlantis handle. As a very loyal customer of 20-year-old Mazdas, I feel like they put this in here on purpose for me. Woohoo! Go down. Ah! This, I feel like, is a solid 3 Atlantises. It's huge back here, and you can also fit a full-size giant suitcase and multiple small carry-on suitcases. You can get anything in this trunk. It's time to drive the 2025 Mazda 3 Carbon Edition sedan. And first, I want to talk about exterior and interior styling on this car. The exterior of this car, for the most part, I think is very, very timeless. It reminds me of 2010's Toyota, the thing that Mazda has going on right now, where their cars don't look super futuristic. They look a little bit 2010s, but they look really, really nice and really tasteful and like Mazda's. The only things on the outside of this car that really date it are the taillights. The taillights look like 2010's Camry taillights. They come down the side of the car into this rounded point, and it just looks a lot like a 2010 sedan. The other thing that dates the outside of this car is the very dark wheels. Those dark wheels were a big trend in the 2010s, and they've kind of faded. So now that they've faded, to have them on this car in 2025 new does make it feel a little bit older. When we go to the inside is very timeless and nice. It's not the most modern or futuristic thing in the world, but it looks great. Right in front of me, I have these digital but also physical gauges. It's super cool. Before the car starts up, you can see the tachometer and stuff like that in the gauges, and then they light up. And then there are digital elements of the gauges, but they have these really cool silver outlines that just come up from the surface. They are actual gauge frames on the gauges, which you don't get a lot with digital instrument clusters now. It's all digital. It's a flat screen. This just looks so nice and 2000s and nostalgic, and it doesn't look old. It just looks familiar. Also inside this Mazda 3, we have amazing interior materials, especially for a $30,000 car. Everything is soft and really, really nice to the touch. It feels super high end. The only thing that is not a really nice interior material, and you know what I'm gonna say? Piano black. We have piano black in the center console area and also in accent areas on this car, And piano black is what it is. It looks very nice for 2 seconds and then it's dirty and dusty and gross, and it also scratches really easily. This car has 2,700 miles on it. It is brand new, but there are already swirls and scratches in the piano black in the center console area because likely what happened was it got dirty and someone cleaned it and they made swirl marks just like you would on paint, because this piano black is really easy to scratch. And it's just a shame because there are materials that you can use right there that are similar but don't do this. The Honda Civic is a really good example. It has this dull silver herringbone pattern in this area that is really, it sounds the same and feels the same as piano black minus the shininess, and it doesn't scuff and it doesn't get super dirty to the eye and everything like that. Automakers would be way better off if they did that instead of this. Inside this Mazda 3, we have seat heaters, which are great. I absolutely love cooking myself with a seat heater. We have tactile buttons, which were a lovely feature of the 2010s, and I'm so glad they're still in here. And we have a touchscreen, but not touchscreen centered display. Actually, I'm not even sure if it's touchscreen because I can't figure it out. So here's the thing. It's a dilemma in Mazdas. Every time I'm in a Mazda, I really struggle to connect my phone to Bluetooth to the car so I can use CarPlay and stuff like that. So sometimes, a lot of times, I end up using the USB connection to CarPlay. But what happens in CarPlay in Mazdas is most of the time when you get in a modern Mazda, you have this dial, and that is what you use for the infotainment screen. You press it and you roll it, and that is how you go between settings. But when you're on Apple CarPlay, there is a hidden setting called touchscreen in motion, and if you turn that on, you can do touchscreen Apple CarPlay, and that is the best because I love poking at the screen with my greasy little fingers. But here's the issue. I could not get my phone to connect to CarPlay in the Mazda 3 via Bluetooth. I could only get it to connect via USB. And it appears in the infotainment screen that I don't have full access to all of the CarPlay settings, or they're just not there in this car. I'm not really sure. So I could not find touchscreen in motion despite going through every single menu, which is super unfortunate. And I don't know if that's because this car just doesn't have it, or if it's because I'm connected via USB and not Bluetooth. Either way, you can use the dial, it's fine. It's just nice to be able to poke at the screen. And the last thing I will note on comfort is that this center console, although it is very, very comfortable, it's kind of flimsy. Not the best right there. Now let's talk about driving the Mazda 3. First, I want to say, really solid blinker in this thing, and I love a solid blinker. Next, I want to say that really the only aged thing that's super obvious in this car is the fact that this is a 6-speed automatic transmission. And so often in modern automatics, you have more than 6 speeds, right? They're smoother, they have more speeds, you notice the gear shifting less and stuff like that. But this car is so smooth that if you're a normal person, and even if you're kind of an experienced driver, you don't even really notice that this only has 6 speeds. This is a nice car. It is super smooth. It doesn't matter that it's a 6-speed auto. You're not going to notice. This car is extremely quiet, especially on the highway, which is an issue in another $30,000 car that I absolutely love, the Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid. That vehicle is so perfect, except for the fact that on the highway, modern Civics are so loud, whether you've got a hybrid or a Civic Type R. It just, all the road noise and everything like that is unbearable in a modern Civic to me. This car on the highway, so quiet. There's a ton of sound deadening in here, and it makes it feel more expensive than it is. We also have this heavy steering, and that is great in an economy car. I hate when steering just feels light as air. But the other side of the coin is that in this car, although the steering is very heavy and very responsive, it feels super fast. The steering ratio, it's kind of numb and dead. You don't get a lot of feedback. You don't get really any feedback from the road. I can feel the road under my feet through the pedals. I really cannot feel the road that much in this wheel, which makes it end up being heavy but numb. The steering wheel on this Mazda 3 is just the right amount of thin, and the material that is on it feels so smooth. It is very, very satisfying to hold. And this car is not fast. It's 191 horsepower. So when you hit the pedal, You just kind of moderately go a little bit faster than you were going a couple of seconds earlier. But that's not a bad thing. This is not supposed to be the fastest car in the world. This is supposed to be a car that is good economy-wise, and it's a little bit zippy and fun when you want it to be. If you want this car to be faster, you have to get the 250 horsepower version. That's how it works. But I will say that although this does not accelerate super fast, the brake pedal is actually very firm, and it's just rewarding to use, especially for this segment of car. When you're in this segment of car, you kind of expect a squishy brake pedal, and you do not get that in the Mazda 3, and that is because the Mazda 3 knows that although it's a general audience, people like me will drive it, and we will like that, and we will talk about it. This 2025 Mazda 3 Carbon Edition sedan with 191 horsepower is really great. Honestly, it's not fast, but it is extremely fun in corners. It is quiet and laid back on the highway, and it is still relatively and surprisingly affordable in America in 2025, especially for a vehicle that is from Japan. This car is a reminder that small cars deserve to exist. They fill an important hole in not only the regular car market, but in the enthusiast who needs to buy a regular car market. This car, to its core, is a great car, and I'm so glad that it exists, and I'm so glad that I got to drive it. And the fact that it's 7 years old and I still feel that way about it should tell you how good of quality it is. Now that we've driven the 2025 Mazda 3 Carbon Edition sedan, it's time to give it a grade. Welcome to Alanis's report card. The exterior on this car gets a B. This is a beautiful car. The styling is really, really nice, but it's also an old car, and you see that in certain bits of how subdued it is, and also trends like the black wheels. It just doesn't look super new for 2025, which is why it doesn't get as good of a grade as I think I would have given it a few years ago. The interior is an A. The materials are absolutely beautiful. The only real complaint you could have is there's quite a bit of piano black in the center console area, but it's $31,000. It is a really good interior for that price. The performance is a B+. I love this car. It drives super smoothly, it's great on the highway, and it's quiet. But the big complaint could be that it is slow. And if that is your complaint, then just get a 250 horsepower turbo. The value on this car is an A. It's $31,000. I don't think I need to really elaborate on that, but that is a good price for what this car is. Would I take it on a road trip? Yes, I am doing that today, and I am very excited because it is going to be a super nice drive. And overall, this car gets an A-. It is so good, especially for the fact that it is 7 years old.
The Mazda 3 is a lovely little car. Its performance and styling features don't scream, "Look at me!" at the driver or the people around them. But sometimes the best kind of car isn't the one that's actively convincing you it's great. It's the car that sits back quietly and lets you notice what is great about it.
The Mazda 3 has always been an enthusiast car, even in its tamest forms. And in America, where trucks and SUVs have taken over the streets, it is so amazing that we can still get this car for $24,000 base and $30,000 in this form, even if we may never have a Mazdaspeed 3 again.